Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford here. Let's have some fun today. Tuesday live chat, like always, at noon. Glad you're here. Start filling in, start chatting away. Before I get to the meat and potatoes, of course, we'll let people start getting involved a little bit more. Let the viewership, if you will, add up. And while we're waiting for that, little comment. I rewatched Any Given Sunday this last weekend on Sunday, ironically. Um, Awesome flick. I remember when it came out, the NFL was mad because it depicted guys of just, guys getting concussed, still getting thrown out there, guys taking steroids, just like the dirty underbelly of the NFL. It's like extra brutal, extra violent. And remember the NFL being all pissed at the movie because it like portrayed the NFL in a negative light. I thought exactly the opposite. I watched that movie and I'm like, man, I wish the NFL was more like this. Helmet to helmet hits, guys all juiced out of their gourd, just a ruckus. Like that's what I thought. I was like, come on. I wish the NFL was more like this. Oh, it paints the NFL in a bad light. Bullshit. Painting the NFL awesome. I want the NFL to be more like Any Given Sunday. But the other takeaway I had was in that part you had, Cameron Diaz was the owner of the Sharks, the Miami Sharks. And remember when she was talking about how Dennis Quaid's character, the quarterback for the team, Jack Rooney, and Jack Rooney was sort of like a Peyton Manning-ish guy. He was like a 3-time MVP. He won the Pantheon Cup, which was the Super Bowl. And she was saying how like he's kind of injured. He's 38. And she's saying how, hey, his value is so high. If we traded him, we can get a second and maybe even a third on top of that if we traded him away. And I thought, oh my God, imagine what a 3-time Super Bowl MVP would go for now. I mean, we just saw Deshaun Watson go for like every single pick the Browns had. And just like the salaries of all these quarterbacks going up. Like that would be like a 3 first-rounder guy now. But in 1999, like an all-pro Super Bowl MVP quarterback was going to go for a second, maybe a third. It's just funny how in the last like 23 years or so, how much the value of quarterbacks has changed. What a great movie. Cameron Diaz walking around the locker room. Guys are just like dicking balls out, shaking hands, no big deal. Al Pacino as a football coach, which I didn't think I would buy, but he actually did it pretty well. The white dude throwing the alligator into the showers. Great flick. So real quick, strength of schedule rankings came out. So we know our home and away schedule next season for the Raiders. Everyone knows their home and away schedule. We know all 17 games, which ones are home, which ones away. We don't know the schedule, right? Which ones are prime time, which weeks are which games. That's coming out Friday. Full release comes out Friday. But we did see some rankings of strength of schedule for next season. Here they are. No surprise, the entire NFC East are the 4 last strength of schedule because they're all playing each other and they're playing other divisions aren't that great. Giants, the Washington and Dallas are tied for last, and then Eagles and then Giants, repping out the bottom 4. God, I wish you could play the NFC East again this season. That would be great. But you look at the toughest ones, and no surprise, it's the West that dominates strength of schedule. NFC West, Rams number 1, NFC West, Cardinals number 2, NFC West, Niners tied for 5th, and NFC West, Seahawks number 11. AFC West, not quite as bad as the NFC West, but pretty close. Chiefs tied for 5th, Raiders tied for 7th, Chargers at 10, and then you got to go all the way to 15 for the Broncos. So of the top 11, 7 of them are NFC or AFC West teams, which makes sense because the NFC West best division in football last season. AFC West currently looks like the best division in football coming up this season. And we play each other, right? AFC West plays the NFC West. So it seems like every single season, the Raiders' strength of schedule is one of the toughest ones of the entire league. We always have a terrible travel schedule, right? Every single West Coast team has a rough travel schedule. Luckily, the Raiders don't have to go to Mexico City or London or anything like that. Like that's what happens when you're good again and you have a roster that people care about. And you have a stadium that makes a ton of money. You don't have to be these teams that kind of kicked across overseas, right? So luckily we don't have any, intercontinental travel this season. But, we're going to have to head to the East Coast a couple times, the South a couple times. Luckily, the NFC West is little easier travel schedule than normal, but seventh toughest schedule, at least on paper, heading into next season. And we know that was going to be the case, right? Because we knew the AFC West was going to be a banger. We knew the NFC West was going to be a banger. This shouldn't come as a surprise. Honestly, I thought the Raiders would be top 5 again. Toughest schedules in football. It's it's been a rough schedule for your team when you're tied for 7th in strength of schedule and you're like, "Oh, good. Not as bad as I thought." Excellent. Beautiful. I'll take it. And we got some fun away games next season. We're going to go to Nashville. We're going to go to New Orleans, Seattle. Some cool. I'm going to have to go to some road games. I only went to one road game last season, New York. But there's going to be some good cities to travel to. I'm pumped on it. And it's only going to make our Super Bowl victory that much sweeter, knowing how much adversity we had to go through, right? Love it. All right, so the big news today, non-Raiders news, but it's big, just general football news. The New York Post has revealed that, they didn't break the news, but Tom Brady, upon retirement, is going to be a Fox broadcaster. The New York Post broke the news of what he's going to be paid. And we kind of figured that he might be the highest paid broadcaster in football. We knew it would be a lot considering what the rest of the guys are currently getting. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman went to ESPN and they're making $15 to $18 million a year to be broadcasters, to call one game a week for 17 or 18 weeks. Great gig if you can get it. And then what's Tom Brady making? A lot. $375 million on a 10-year deal as soon as he retires. $37.5 million a year to be the number one color analyst for Fox Sports. $37.5 million a year. So if this started next year, which it probably won't, right? Tom Brady's going to play again. So whenever that may be when he retires. But let's say it did start next season. Let's say next season Tom Brady started his broadcast career. He would be the 6th highest paid player in football. That's more than every single player in the NFL will make next season, with the exception of Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, and Deshaun Watson. That's nuts. That's more than players make and he doesn't have to take one hit. He doesn't have to pass one physical. He doesn't have to go through one training camp. He doesn't have to go through one practice. He doesn't have to do anything physical, any of the hard parts of playing football. He still has to do his homework and still has to travel. But he doesn't have to take a single hit and still make almost $38 million a year. That is bonkers. And so what's driving up this pay? Because it's happening with all broadcasters, right? I just mentioned, Tony Romo and, Drew Brees is now coming into broadcasting. Like all these guys, all these giant names are coming into broadcasting and they're going to get these massive deals. What's driving these big deals? Well, one, live sports is what's driving everything, right? No one watches TV unless it's live sports. 2, the NFL is the biggest name in the game. Of the 100 most viewed television shows last year, 75 of them were NFL games, right? So that's driving everything. And 2, everyone wants a piece of it because now Amazon is involved. So if you remember, a quick history lesson, when Fox came in as a network and wanted an NFL deal, they came in and got John Madden on a massive contract. They paid the NFL way more than CBS or NBC was paying for the rest of the NFC games. And that just raised everything, right? What raises pay in any situation? New people coming in for competition, right? That raises the pay. And so with Amazon coming into the NFL broadcasting game, they're buying up everybody. And so now broadcasters, like there's more chairs than there are people to fill them, right? There's more big name gigs than big names that are doing it. And so that's why, Tom Brady being the big name that he is, we don't even know if he's a good broadcaster or not. I mean, he clearly knows football. They got to look for TV. He's obviously a giant name, but will he be exciting? Will he call games fun? Tom Brady's a lot of things. I don't know if fun is one of them, right? He looked fun when he was hammered during the Tampa Bay victory parade. Maybe if he was drunk, that'd be awesome, but we'll see. We know he'll do his homework, but who knows if he's going to be good or not. The other part of this, and I've talked about it on the show a lot, is when you make a giant purchase like the Raiders did with Davante Adams, right? Made him the highest paid wide receiver at the time, gave away a first and a second for him. It made sense to do that because of the extra money we gave Davante Adams, that was less money that we had to give Derek Carr. And it worked, right? Derek Carr took the first super team-friendly deal in NFL history. And part of it was because we got Davante Adams. So it was worth, you saved the money you spent on Davante Adams with Derek Carr. And there's one very specific quote in this article that stuck with me. And they said, talking about Tom Brady, besides being Fox Sports' #1 game analyst, he will also be a company ambassador who will help in sponsorships and promotional activities. I repeat, Tom Brady, besides being Fox Sports' #1 game analyst, he will also be a company ambassador who will help in sponsorships and promotional activities. And so this is how you rationalize giving a guy that talks into a mic for 3 hours a day, once a week for one football season, is you have him do more than just talk into a microphone. Fox wants to say they have the biggest name in sports, and you can make the case that Tom Brady is the biggest name in sports. Could be LeBron James, we can have that argument. But there's a very strong case that Tom Brady is the biggest name in American sports. And Fox can say they have him. So when they go to Chevy, Budweiser, whoever for sponsorships and commercial deals, they can say, hey, you get Tom Brady as part of this. Hey, you get to, that VIP suite that we give you, Budweiser, Tom Brady's going to show up and shake hands. Oh, you get Tom Brady for a little bit of a commercial touch to that. Oh, Tom Brady's going to do the commercial read during a live broadcast. Things like that. You have Tom Brady not just as a commentator, but as a guy that can do all this extra value for you. Essentially, it feels like Fox Sports wanted Tom Brady as a mascot and then also used him as a color commentator, as opposed to the other way around. And that's what you have to do if you're going to rationalize spending that kind of money for somebody. You have to make them do different things. And here's the biggest part of this deal to me. Actually, there's two things. One, I've never understood giving like play-by-play or color guys massive contracts because they don't affect the bottom line. Now, we all have our favorite play-by-play guys. We all have our favorite color guys. We all have the ones we hate, right? I absolutely love Al Michaels. I think he's the best broadcaster in the history of broadcasting. I don't watch or not watch a broadcast because Al Michaels is on it. It doesn't affect what games I watch. I enjoy it more when it's Al, right? Ironically, I hate Collinsworth, but I'll enjoy it more with him, but I don't watch or not watch because of the broadcaster. It doesn't affect my viewing. And so that's why it's hard to explain spending that much money on a commentator when they have no effect on the bottom line. Now it's different with, I know that's sounding very self-serving here, but it's different with like radio and desk shows. Like when Colin Cowherd doesn't do a show, ratings plummet because people are there to see Colin Cowherd. It's the herd with Colin Cowherd. He is the product. Him talking is what you're there for. When you're watching a football game, you're there for the football game, and the commentary hopefully complements the experience. And so that's why it's hard for me to rationalize paying these guys massive money unless they're doing more. Unless you're adding to the bottom line somehow, which it sounds like what they're going to do with Tom Brady. Make him a mascot, make him part of sponsorship deals, be able to say you have the biggest name in sports. That's part of it. The biggest takeaway I have of all this, though, is how it affects football, which is the main thing we care about. How does it affect football? So I use this example. So I come from MMA. I work for the UFC. Big John McCarthy he was the referee for UFC 2. Most experienced referee in mixed martial arts. He's reffed more giant fights than anybody else in mixed martial arts. You can make a case he's the best referee in the history of mixed martial arts, right? He recently quit being a referee and is now a commentator for Bellator. Right? He's the Bellator commentator now, no longer refs. And I like him as a broadcaster. I liked Big John McCarthy as a color commentator. I think he's good. I liked him more as a referee. So whenever there is a big fight and the referee screws something up, late stoppage, took the wrong point away, early stoppage, screwed something up, I will always think to myself, if Big John was still the referee, that probably wouldn't have happened. That's what I think every time. Again, I'm happy Big John's doing something that he likes. I think he's a good commentator. I want him in the cage reffing because it's more important to me that the actual fight is being done correctly than the color commentary's fun. That's the same thing I feel here with Tom Brady. Now, obviously, Tom Brady's in his 40s. He can retire and he had his 20-year career and it's all fine. But as pay gets bigger and bigger for broadcasting, it's going to be a bigger and bigger lure for football players to leave football and to do something else. Again, Tom Brady, if he started commentating next season, he'd be the 6th highest paid player in football, right? Making almost $38 million a year. It's going to be a problem when NFL players can say, you know what? I'm going to retire 5 years earlier because I can make more money or similar money with 10% of the work as a broadcaster. I don't like that. Now, again, I'm glad that players are, when they retire, are doing something, right? I'm glad that retired players can become coaches and coordinators and broadcasters, and they all have podcasts and SiriusXM radio shows. And it's awesome that Rich Gannon is all over the place, right? It warms my heart when I get to hear Rich Gannon's voice, right? He took us to the Super Bowl. He was an MVP, and he gave us all those great moments, and he's still in my life. If this were 20, 30 years ago, he'd be gone, right? He'd play for us, and then I'd see him at the Luxor signing autographs every now and then, right? Nope. Now he's in my life more often. And it's great. It's great when players are truly done, that they have something to do after. I don't like it when the lure of retirement is more alluring than playing for a couple more years. That's what I don't like. And as pay for broadcasters gets higher and higher and higher, players are going to want to leave earlier, and earlier. And that kind of sucks. I mean, it would be better for us. Like, imagine if Peyton Manning retired before he went to Denver. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have got that extra Super Bowl. Let's say he can make more. And he's a different example because he's such a big name. He probably could have made more than he could have been like the original Tom Brady. That's just completely changed the pay structure of NFL players as broadcasters. But I don't like that. It's going to affect the game. It's going to affect the game when, you can put, let's say you're a wide receiver, right? And you had 7 awesome years, right? You led the league in catches, led the league in touchdowns. You won yourself a Super Bowl. You were Super Bowl MVP. And then CBS comes around and say, hey, you're making $23 million a year. We'll give you $30 million a year to be a broadcaster. And let's say you're that wide receiver and you're fighting with management a little bit. You're fighting with your coaches. You're not getting the contract that you want. And you say, all right, fuck you. I'm going to go into the booth. I'm going to do that instead of playing football. Again, great for the players, right? Now they have more options. Great for them. I don't know if it's so great for us. I don't know if it's so great for the football viewing public that the best players are motivated to leave. Like, that's what's so great about the NFL being a giant moneymaker is these players make more money playing football than they can do anything else, right? It's not, before professional sports was such giant money, it was you go to college and that can give you a scholarship, and then your degree in economics or your law degree that you got will make you more than playing professional football, right? Like the 50s, 60s, 70s, like you made more with your degree you got in college than you did playing pros. It's clearly inverted now, right? These players can make more doing professional football than anything else they could possibly do. But once you add something else that lures them away from football, like that's the reason why all the best athletes in America play football, because it pays the most. right? You can say baseball pays more, but yet you need football is like the one where pure athleticism translates to success the most. Like obviously athleticism matters in every sport, but if you're a pure athlete, you're most likely to be better at football than something that requires a little bit more nuance, like basketball or baseball, right? Like you can be the best athlete in the world. You still got to be able to hit. You still got to be able to watch that ball coming at 101 miles an hour, strike it, and get to first base, right? Anyway, that's something to watch, right? As these contracts go up and up and up, watch as your favorite player who's facing the twilight of his career in his early 30s. He's debating playing 2 or 3 more seasons. And then he realizes, oh, I can make $40 million as a broadcaster. And this is also why hopefully, as these quarterback contracts go up and up and up and up, and we're pissed because it's taking, a fourth of the salary cap away from the team, at least it's keeping them around. At least it's keeping them playing football and not going behind a mic. A lot more to get to, but let's jump into the comment section. Dutch Master, never knew you were on Gameology vids, RJ. I was shocked how much these Gameology videos I did, how many people watch them. So if you don't know, Gameology is like a video game YouTube channel. And what they do a bunch of things, but what they'll do is they'll take an expert in a field and have them break down a video game. So they'll have like an ER doctor break down the fatalities of Mortal Kombat. Like he'll grab a guy's throat and rip his spine out and be like, yeah, so that's his actual spine and his nervous system. And it's, probably not likely he'll do this, but it's likely he'll do that. So they brought me in to break down MMA fighting in video games. And I did like Tekken. I did like a Batman game. And I was surprised the response and how many people know about it. It's awesome. And also video game YouTubers, the nicest people ever. Like I've been working in MMA for 15 years and I'll post something innocent, like on YouTube or Twitter or whatever it is. Like, oh, I think, this fighter will win. And this is why. Half the reactions are, fuck you, loser. Oh, I can't believe you think that. You're so stupid. I'll murder your family. Just assholes. Whereas in video gaming, everyone's like, oh, this was really great, RJ. Thank you so much for this video. I really appreciate it. You're the best. I'm like, are you being sarcastic? Is this a joke? Like, is Ashton Kutcher going to jump out somewhere? It's like, it's so weird having people be nice to me for the content I create. Nice change of pace. John Q, Raiders will surprise people. It's a lock to put money on them to start the season, just like the Ravens game last year. And if memory serves, the odds makers will bury the Raiders like always. Last year, after we beat the Ravens on Monday Night Football, we were 5.5-point dogs against the Steelers the next week. A Steelers team that's not as good as the Ravens that the Raiders beat, and 5.5-point dogs. Odds makers never give the Raiders their love. Part of me understands it because odds makers do something that I don't do enough of when I'm betting, is they don't just take into account how they did last week or who their new receiver is or how well the quarterback's playing. They take how has that franchise performed the last 1, 3, 5, 10 years. They use a long swath of data to decide how they're going to do that night, right? On top of, who's hurt, who's hot, that kind of stuff. And because the Raiders have had 2 decades of, hate to say it, general incompetence, only 2 playoff appearances in the last 20 years, the Raiders are always underdogs, which is great for us people who want to bet the Raiders. We just get better numbers. I'll take it. FAKC, always in the Raiders chat. I'll never watch a TB12 sports broadcast. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, FAKC. You are a liar. And I think you're a liar. How often do we hear people, oh, I'll never watch Collinsworth. He's so bad. Yeah, you will. He's calling Thursday Night Football in 2 seasons, Chiefs versus Raiders. You're there with bells on. Don't lie to me. Soto. That's, hey, you, Giselle, go make daddy a sandwich money. I wonder if this puts him over the top. I wonder if Giselle still makes more than Tom Brady. My buddy Derek texted me. He's like, hey, this is just a deal to make sure Tom Brady, the only reason he wanted this monster contract is because he wanted to be able to sell to Giselle and the family that he still wants to be gone every weekend. Like, he just doesn't want to be home with the family. He doesn't want to be there, like, playing Legos with his kids. He wants to be on the road. He wants to be doing man shit. Carr took the first team-friendly deal wrong. Mahomes did 10-year deal. He's the second or third highest paid player in football. How's it a team-friendly deal? Come on, Hefe. You know for a fact that that's not gonna go 10 years. It's gonna go 3 or 4 more years, and they're gonna renegotiate. Come on, team-friendly deal? What is he? He's the second highest paid player in football next season. Team-friendly deal. Get out of that. Bellator rules. Yeah, that's where Big John McCarthy broadcasts. Fish and Riffs. Is Tom taking a job from the diversity movement? Not a lot. If you notice, like, if there's a big diversity thing, it's not really happening in color commentating, right? Romo, Breeze, Brady. I mean, hey, you guys know how I am. Best guy for the job. Best guy or girl for the job. I don't care about color of skin. I don't care where your ovaries are. Just give me the best guy for the job. And not even like biggest name. Like, if there's a no-name person, like someone who played like third string guard, but they're an amazing broadcaster, that's who I'd rather have than a name. Pat McAfee. He was a punter. He was a punter in the NFL. Played at West Virginia. I'd rather hear him talk than Tom Brady all day long. That's what I care about. Aqib Talib. Again, I hate to admit it, right? Because he was a Bronco. Awesome broadcaster. Love his color commentating. Raw. He's himself. He's not trying to be some like polished dude, watching NBC. No, he's just Aqib Talib. And he's great. That's who I want. Andre Ashley, the video game community is hella the opposite of toxic. Yeah, it's weird because I'm so used to like combat sports, like pissed off guys who like violence, and then there are these gamers that are just like, oh, this is so great, RJ, thank you. Mr. Clifford, I appreciate your contribution. It's like, damn. If I'm ever like have low self-esteem or start getting depressed, I used to think there was only one cure: get on a jet ski. It's impossible to be sat on a jet ski. Like, physically impossible. Like, I don't know what happens. Like, the chemical makeup in your brain just cranks up. You ever seen someone on a jet ski frown? Never going to happen. Now I learned also, number 2, talk to video gamers. Nicest people ever. All right, another thing. We talked strength of schedule. We talked Tom Brady. Okay, here's the unfun part. Dan Ventrelle, team president, fired. He released a statement. I won't read the entire thing. Hopefully you've seen or read most of it. And he said, today, Mark Davis terminated my employment as president of the Las Vegas Raiders. I've committed almost 18 years of my life to the success of the Raiders as general counsel and president. I take that responsibility very seriously. I said I wasn't going to read the whole thing. I'm going to, which is why multiple written complaints from employees that Mark Davis created a hostile work environment and engaged in other potential misconduct caused me grave concern. When Mark was confronted about these issues, he was dismissive and did not demonstrate the warranted level of concern. Given this, I informed the NFL of these issues of Mark's unacceptable response. Soon thereafter, I was fired in retaliation for raising these concerns. I firmly stand by my decision to elevate these issues to protect the organization and its female employees. I remain committed to doing everything in my power to support the Raiders and the Las Vegas community I now call home. I have retained counsel and will have no further comment at this time. More upheaval in the front office. Can't we get one normal off season or one normal regular season with the Raiders? Why is it that every controller, treasurer, president, interim president, coach, everyone with a nameplate at their desk has to go through drama with the Raiders? Why can't we get one normal season? One drama-less season? One season that doesn't look like Real Housewives of Las Vegas, except with football cleats and a pigskin. We always get this shit. The first wave of firings with the last round of front office people, that's still probably getting worked out. There's probably still lawsuits. There's still pending litigation. The lawyers are still involved. That's still in the thick of it. That's not even in the rearview mirror. That's sitting shotgun. And now we got this. Dan Ventrelle was the interim acting president, and then magically the interim label disappeared, and then he became team president. So more drama with the Raiders. So this is how I look at it. I don't know what's going on there, right? I don't know if the Raiders have this terrible, toxic environment where Mark Davis is slapping secretaries on the ass. There's a hole in the cheerleaders' locker room that people get to watch them get dressed. I don't know what's going on. Or on the flip side, exactly the opposite. Women are treated perfectly. They get every benefit of the doubt. They've got tampon dispensers in every single bathroom, whatever. I don't know what's going on back there. But this I do know. If I got fired from a giant corporation with a ton of money in a very high profile business, and I wasn't happy with being fired, this is a way to save face. This is a way to make it not your fault and to make it their fault. You say, I got fired because I was Captain Save-A-Ho. I got fired because I was trying to protect the women in this office. I went to Mark Davis. He didn't give, what was the exact terminology? Did not demonstrate the warranted level of concern. So Dan Ventrelle is now the arbiter of what is and what isn't a warranted level of concern. And then because he didn't demonstrate that level of concern, I snitched. I went to the NFL and said, hey, you guys need to fix this. And then I got fired. I have now retained counsel because he's a lawyer. Dan Ventrelle is an attorney. This reminds me of the Simone Biles thing from the Olympics. Remember Simone Biles, the Olympian, the greatest, the hottest gymnast in America, just crush the routines. Insane. Gymnasts are the most insane athletes. As far as pure athleticism, gymnasts are way up there. They're amazing. And you remember the Olympics, she said, I had to pull out of the Olympics because of mental health, right? I learned from that. Now, again, I don't know what's going on in Simone Biles' head. You don't know what's going on in Simone Biles' head. If anyone tells you they know what's going on in Simone Biles' head, they're either lying or they're trying to sell you something, okay? We don't know what's going on in between the ears of Simone Biles. But I do know this. If I had to pull out of something and I wanted everyone to be on my side, I would say it's because of mental health. That's the excuse I would use. Because who's going to come down on somebody who's taking their mental health seriously and taking a break from something very high stress and very hard because it's mental health? If I knocked up some chick and I was trying to keep it secret, if I had an alcohol issue, I wanted to keep it secret, if I had a legal issue and I had to pull out of something, I would say, yeah, I'm leaving because of my mental health. That's the excuse I would use because that's how you get people on your side and you get people not really asking a lot of questions, right? Again, I'm not saying Simone Biles faked it or didn't. I'm saying mental health is an issue is going to get people on your side. Same thing with Dan Ventrelle. If I got fired from a job and I wanted people on my side, I wanted to look like the good guy, I wanted to look like my employer was an asshole, I would say, yeah, I got fired because I was looking after the female employees of this business. That's the move I would do. So again, it all comes down to what you can prove, right? Does he have, are there women that are going to come out in the Raiders organization saying there was an issue or there wasn't an issue? Is there going to be a paper trail of some kind that Dan Ventrelle officially went to Mark Davis with documentation that there was a problem? Did he officially go to the NFL? Is there documentation there? These are all things that are going to be followed through in the next years, right? This type of litigation, this kind of lawsuit takes years, right? And it just sucks that this is what we get with the Raiders every year. It's just front office drama constantly. The good news is front office problems rarely have any effect on the field. Rarely is what's going on with the team president, who's suing who, what litigation is pending. That's the furthest thing from Derek Carr's mind. That's the furthest thing from Devontae Adams' mind. That's the furthest thing from Denzel Perryman's mind. Doesn't affect them at all. Right? As long as, Josh McDaniels didn't, have some emails, some shitty emails he sent 10 years ago that leads to him getting fired, shouldn't be an issue with what's going on in the field, which is great because what's going on in the field right now is potential to be awesome. Fish and Riffs. How worried about this Mark Davis BS are you? Again, the big story to this could be, and I'm seeing other creators and other writers kind of ponder this, is Mark Davis going to lose his team? For an NFL owner to get his team taken away would be nearly unprecedented. We saw it happen with Donald Sterling in the NBA, so it is possible. But it also took a giant smoking gun of Donald Sterling being super racist, caught, like verbally saying it, having his ex-wife record it, catch it. And also the NBA is like way super woke. Like if you they're it's a different culturally. Like they're really into cancel culture, wokeness. Like this is taken, like it's very high on their priorities, right? The NFL is more about making money, right? The NBA is too, but I don't feel like either NBA or NFL truly care, but the NBA at least pretends they care more than the NFL, right? And the NFL is kind of shifting. We saw Roger Goodell, try to change the narrative a little bit with, the end racism logos and stuff on the back of helmets in the end zone, stuff like that. Like they're trying to change the narrative of how the NFL is viewed. But I think at their core, they don't care. So for this to come back on Mark Davis and lead to him getting fired, that would be unprecedented. And there'd have to be way more going on here than just unsubstantiated claims by a bitter former team president. I think worst case scenario, still unlikely, but worst case scenario is maybe the Raiders lose a draft pick. That's been a punishment that the NFL has done before, where you lose a draft pick for it. That would be the only thing I think is feasible that I would worry about. Something like that. And again, it would take a lot more than just offhanded, unsubstantiated comments from a person who's pissed that they got fired. I'm just happy this happened earlier in the offseason. The news cycle is a very short memory. Well, yeah, like I said, it's happening now, but these stories linger. Like things will pop up if this continues, especially during like discovery phases and stuff like that. L. Brown Holio. Love it. If this is the mafia, Al has talked to Mark and said the one within the family who wants to talk, he's the traitor. Ventrelle is owned by Goodell and NFL brass. Maybe. I mean, it certainly looks like there's a concerted effort from outside forces to try to bury the Raiders. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that what happened to John Gruden, he was targeted. So people say, oh, is John Gruden, did he just get what was coming to him or was he canceled? The answer is both. The answer is both. You got a third of a million emails out there, and the 6 that make John Gruden look bad are the only ones released. Yeah, like that's what's going on. Right? Like that truly happened. That was truly a problem. But he was targeted. Like they were out to get John Gruden, and so they found something shitty that he did and made sure it was exposed. Alex Marquez, NFL can't take the team from Mark Davis. He doesn't own the team. His mom owns it. He just runs the team. Correct. Yeah, Carol Davis owns it. But they can make an example of him. They can make it so he can't be acting owner. They can shaft him. You're right. It does make it more complicated. It's not as cut and dry as like Donald Sterling, who outright owned the team. But they can still get after him. Another story. So the Giants cut James Bradbury. And you remember the cornerback for the Giants, good player. He was only cut because of cap problems. Isn't it crazy how a shitty team like the Giants even they are like, all right, let's get rid of a really good Pro Bowl corner for cap reasons. Like once again, like this is he's like what in his 20s still, like he's young, good. Like that's someone you would build a rebuilding team around. Is someone like James Bradbury. Like that's a player you keep if you're rebuilding. And yet even they, because of cap problems, got rid of him. Let this be a lesson to all you the cap isn't real folks out there. It's very real. It exists and there are consequences for the cap. Now it's super pliable. It's like Play-Doh. You can morph it into almost whatever you want, but you still have to pay for it eventually. And that's what you're seeing like with the Chiefs, who are shedding contracts of awesome players that you want to keep. Chiefs are clearly in win now mode. They're still a Super Bowl contender. And even they are getting rid of great defensive players because of big contracts, and they got themselves in cap problem. That's what happens with Patrick Mahomes as the second highest paid player in football next season. That's what happens, right? And so James Bradbury, who played under our now defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, is out there. He'll take about $10 or $11 million, and we definitely would love to have a Pro Bowl corner. Right now, it's Trayvon Mullen and Rock Yassin as kind of the two guys, and they're both in weird situations where if they were our two starters at corner, they wouldn't be quote unquote holes, but they would be question marks. They've proven that they deserve a chance to be a starter. They've proven that they have the ability to break out and be a starter, be a good player, be someone you can count on, but they haven't proven that they are, if that makes sense, right? You can, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Max Crosby, they've proven that they're the guys, right? And until something drastic happens, they're the guys. There's players that are proven they're not the guys. Clay Farrell, Nick Witkowski, guys like that. They've proven they're not the guys. And then there's the middle ground where they've played well enough where it's like, all right, if they show off in camp, they, prove themselves on the practice field, let's give them a shot at being a starter and let them sink or swim. That's both of those guys. James Bradbury, proven winner. And he's done it under Patrick Graham's style of defense. Great man-to-man guy. And plus, we had about $5 million in cap space now. We'll get about another $20 million June 2nd. Once the June 1st contracts, post June 1st contracts are done, we'll get another $20 million or so. So about $25 million in cap space. He makes sense. Now, he was cut for a reason because the Giants were trying to trade him. But I think everyone kind of knew that they were going to cut him anyway, so that decreases the trade value. They were just kind of wait till he gets cut, and then we'll get him anyway. The downside is the Chiefs are looking to get him. So signing him would serve two purposes. One, we get a Pro Bowl corner that's familiar in Patrick Graham's system, position of need. And two, the Chiefs don't get him. We don't have to play him twice a year. I say get after him. Fish and Riffs. Any news on Mullen's recovery or anticipated recovery time? They have been silent. This is what I fucking hate about NFL players with social media. They just love cryptic stuff. It's like, oh, here's a photo of me going in for surgery. And then no follow-up. Nothing. We don't know what surgery it is. We don't know what the procedure is. We don't know how long you're going to be, how long you're going to be under the knife, how long the recovery is, what's going to look like. None of that. And then Mullins has the gall to be like, yeah, all you haters are saying I'm not going to be back. I'll show you. It's like, you didn't tell us what was happening. Of course we were going to be like, what is it? Like, what's going on? NFL players love cryptic social media posts. And all it does is get us all worried. And then they have the gall to say, oh, well, all these haters are coming after me. It's like, well, then tell us what the fuck happened or don't. One or the other. Pick one. Soto, what's pullout? I'm not familiar with that term. Pullout game strong, huh, Soto? Paul Edgerton, Bradbury would be a perfect fit for us. Fist emoji, pirate flag. Yeah. Perfect. And it's great because now you've got Yassine and Mullen fighting for the other spot, right? Now you got both these guys that are maybe kind of feeling themselves. Mullen and Yassine thinking, all right, I'm going to be the starting corner. I got this job all wrapped up. Awesome. Good to go. Now it's like, ooh, now I got to fight to be a starter. Now I got this guy breathing down my neck a little bit. And of course, you always need DB depth, especially RDBs. What is it with RDBs always getting hurt? I mean, that would be a good little setup, right? You've got James Bradbury at one corner, Nate Hobbs at slot corner, and then who's ever better, Yassine or Mullen as the other corner. Trayvon Marg, free safety. Hopefully you get Jonathan Abrams, like try to keep him in the box as best as possible, right? Where he's less of a pass liability, try to keep him as a box safety more. This DB room might shape out to be pretty decent. Mo Dizzle. I would like to have Bard just because we haven't seen a fully healthy Mullen in a long time and don't know how his toe will hold up over a season. Think McFadden. Yeah. You can never have too many DBs. They always get hurt. And it's not like we have rock solid corner starters. So with Bradbury, we'll have definitive starter, knows Patrick Graham's system, experienced enough to help other people, right? He knows the system well enough. He can help other people. And it's proven to work. New defensive coordinator comes in and you get guys that know his system and can flourish, right? We saw it with Gus Bradley last season, right? Denzel Perryman becomes a Pro Bowler. It works, right? Now, our defense still wasn't good last year, but it's better than it's been, much better than it's been. $25 million will go a long way in adding real talent. How are the other AFC teams looking with cap? Well, like I mentioned, the Chiefs are shedding cap space left and right. The Chargers are still adding players. And the Broncos, put everything on Russell Wilson. The Broncos are the biggest question mark for me because they committed everything to Russell Wilson, because we've been saying for a while, like, the Broncos are one decent or good quarterback away from being a real problem. And I still believe that's the case. However, is Russell Wilson still the guy after a decade of the NFL, especially a guy who's undersized and coming off injury, and a quarterback with the style of play that's not going to have the longevity of like a Tom Brady or Derek Carr? Like, he's an undersized moving quarterback, takes a lot of damage. Is he the same guy? I keep hearing about how the Broncos have these weapons. They're so unproven to me. And will their defense hold up without their defensive genius head coach, Fangio? So I feel like the Broncos feel like they're set. The Chargers just adding talent. The Raiders are kind of in between. I think hopefully we get James Bradbury, some more defensive help. We know they're not done with the line yet. I think they'll still move. The line's still shaping up. And the Chiefs are shedding contracts because of Patrick Mahomes' contract. And I think and the Chargers are like, all right, look, we're going to have to give Justin Herbert his 5th-year extension and pay him insane. But while he's still on a rookie contract, let's load this team up, right? Let's try to do what the Bengals did last season. Load up this team while we have a Pro Bowl quarterback on a rookie contract. Let's load up. Try to win now. We got this extra cap space before we give a fifth of our salary cap to one player, right? Paul Edgerton, some of our undrafted free agents will make others work harder as well. There's some real talent there. Yeah. And that's the general philosophy for Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels. Like, they'll pay a couple stars, right? I mean, even though Derek Carr's taking a team-friendly deal, it's still, $28 million to the cap, which, again, pennies for, a 3-time Pro Bowler franchise quarterback, but that's still a chunk of the cap. Paid Chandler Jones, paid Devontae Adams, paid Max Crosby. So they'll pay some superstars and then hope the system can raise the level of the support players. And this is something Soto's always wanted. He's wanted superstars, like pay, use the cap to get 4 or 5 insanely talented guys, and then hope a bunch of duds can raise their game underneath them. Gruden was different. Like, we had good depth last season, right? Especially like as bad as our line was, we started the season without our 2 starting guards. And we still like kind of improved as the season went on. We lost targets left and right, and guys stepped up. The problem with the current philosophy of super studs and then just fill players is depth. You sometimes don't get good depth when you're committing so much of your cap to giant superstars. We'll see how that plays out. Fish and Riffs. I remember all the way back when Charles Woodson was struggling with turf toe, and they say there's no such thing as a curse. I remember when we had AJ Hawk on the show last year. God, has it been that long? And he was talking about how Charles Woodson during that year in Green Bay, he's like, he didn't practice for like months at a time. Like he would do the meetings, but otherwise he was like, he was in his late 30s. He was rehabbing. He was icing things down. He was in meetings. He was studying, watching film, but he wasn't practicing. His body was so beat up, so old, so many injuries. He didn't practice for like weeks and weeks at a time. But then he'd show up on game day and crush it. Because he was smart enough to know, like, all right, I got to save my body. I need to like not risk injury and risk like tendon strength on like cone drills. I got to save it for game day. Akenta Strom, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. $5, cha-ching. Finally got a chance to catch a live show. Thanks, RJ and Juan, for all the Raider talk. Thank you. Really appreciate the super chats. That gives us a chance to so real quick, money-wise, like Soto and I haven't pocketed a dime from the show. It's all gone back into the show. If you notice, we got Soto a new camera. See that beautiful face of his a little better. We got some stuff you can't see. I got a new light. We're going to start getting some gear here pretty soon. The goal is to build a studio. Get enough money to build like a nice big studio. Couple camera shoots, good lighting, clean backdrop. Make it look like a full-on studio broadcast. So just know, guys, every time you give, it's not going to my beer budget. It's not going to Soto's beer budget. It's not going into the G-string of strippers. That's my personal money. The money you guys give us, it's going right back into the show, making the show better. So just know that every time you're thinking, hey, do I want to give a super chat a couple bucks? It's going towards making the show better. They now have super comments where normally right now you just leave a super chat in the chat and you can give a couple bucks. Now you can go to any video and in the comments, you can leave money. We just got that working on our channel now. So if you feel so inclined, if you never give us a dime, great. We're just glad you're here. If you want to give a little extra, know that it's going to a good place. It's just going to make the show better. A couple other little pieces of news. Nick Witkowski visited the team on Monday for a possible reunion. So remember, we cut him. That's why we're going to get some extra dough June 2nd. Witkowski is a fine backup player. I don't think he started one game last season. He saw some playing time, but I don't think he started a single game, which is crazy considering how much he got paid, right? Having him back is interesting because you just told the guy, like, you're not worth what we paid you. We don't want you on this team anymore, like for what the cost was. So if we're able to get him back on like a veteran minimum or less, God, that looked bad for John Gruden and Mayock. That he's coming off a big, pretty decent contract. He's with the Bears. He was a good backup for the Bears. Played well when he did see the field with the Bears, and then he came to the Raiders and just stunk. And I was fooled. I thought he'd be great. I thought, yes, finally, our linebacker woes have been solved. Boy, was I wrong. What a bad look if we paid him all that money, he becomes a free agent, the other 31 teams don't get him, and he comes back to the Raiders, tail between his legs, saying, okay, I'll come back to the team that didn't want me for pennies. Pennies, veteran minimum, he'll still be a millionaire, but you get what I'm saying. The longer like when John Gruden with his first stint with the Raiders, the further into the past that was, the better he looked. You notice that? Like the longer John Gruden was away from coaching, the more we kind of thought his coaching was awesome. The opposite is happening now. The further away we get from John Gruden's coaching stint, the worse that coaching stint looks. The way Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler didn't pick up any of the 2019 first round extensions. Nick Witkowski, we pick him up again for pennies. The further time goes on, the worse John Gruden looked. Mo Dizzle, cheers, buddy. $5. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Means a lot. Now, if you do want me to spend the super chat money that you give me on beer, I'm happy to make that sacrifice. No problem. If you're like, RJ, here's $10 in the super chat. Don't put it towards the studio. I want you to take all this money, go to the titty bar, and have a great time. I will happily do that. I will sacrifice our studio in the future if you so desire. Just so you know. Fish and Rips, $4.99 super chat. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for taking my question today. Great content. Go Raiders. Thank you so much. We love the thank yous as much as we do the questions. We really, really appreciate this. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart. Realist Raider, no money for 44 cut, just a contract move. Yeah, I agree. Let's not pay him. So Friday, the NFL released the schedule. Exciting time, right? What is it about the NFL and their ability to make every little thing feel like an event? Like we already know our strength of schedule. We already know our home and away. We already know who we're going to play. Now we just got to know where and when, right? Are we going to be Thursday night football, Monday night football, early window, second early window? When are we going to the different cities, right? When we go to the East Coast, is it going to be in the winter, right? Is it not, right? Are we going to go to Seattle during the rainy season or not? Like those are the things that matter. Are we going to have a long road trip where we got to kind of plan for it? Where's our bye going to be? All important things. You got to imagine if the NFL had half a brain about them, if they had two brain cells rubbing together, every single primetime game got to be an AFC West or NFC West showdown. Got to be, right? Got to be. The AFC West, quarterback division, super studs on the defensive end. The rivalry between these four teams, awesome. I'm on this like text chain with a bunch of people that work at the UFC, and half of them are East Coast guys. And me and my producer Lappy, one of my best friends, diehard Charger fan, had season tickets for his entire childhood. Obviously, we're at each other's throats constantly, and we're just fucking fighting constantly. Right? I edited this video together of me talking shit to Lappy before the final game of the season when we beat the Chargers, put our foots on their neck, stomped the soul out of them, kicked them out of the playoffs, and sent us there, Justin Herbert, crying back to the sideline. When that game happened, yeah, a lot of shit talking. And all the East Coasters are like, I had no clue that the AFC West rivalries are so awesome. Because you think like, California, LA, San Diego, not great sports towns. These guys don't show up. Bull effing shit. These AFC West rivalries are awesome. So you've got the best quarterbacks in football, the best defensive ends in football, some legendary coach, drama all the way around. We're going to get some primetime game, boys. We're going to get some primetime games. If the NFL has half a brain, those primetime games are going to be Raiders, Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Broncos, Chargers. Easily the first ones have to be, right? Big ones. Littleton and Nassib were the post-June cuts, not quit. Thank you, David. That's correct. Yeah, I forgot about Nassib. True. Keep me honest, guys. I get names mixed up all the time. Do you think Gruden's emails being leaked was a blessing in disguise? Whoa. That is a great question. I'll tell you what. Such a great question. This is going to be something Soto and I will discuss tomorrow on our big show, like on the podcast, like the big hour-long show. I'm going to make this, I'm going to save this. How do I, there you go. Bam, star. I'm going to save this one, Dutch Master, because that's a great question. Because there's so many different ways. I'll give you a little preamble. There's so many different ways it could go, right? We now got Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, and again, I'm still cautiously optimistic that Soto is 100% on board. He's like, McDaniel's the man. Success for sure is for sure to come. He's the best. Can't possibly fail. And then Rory is like, nope, he sucks. We saw him in Denver. He sucked. We saw him as the offensive coordinator of the Rams. He sucked. He's only good because he's under Bill Belichick and the Patriots and Robert Kraft. I'm in the middle. I'm cautiously optimistic that Josh McDaniels learned his lesson, became self-aware, worked on his weaknesses, and can be the head coach that we want, right? So I'm in the middle. So if the emails didn't happen, we wouldn't have McDaniels, wouldn't have Ziegler, probably wouldn't have Devontae Adams. Now it caused a lot of drama this season, but did that like invigorate the team? Did that have them rally together to overcome adversity? Did Rich Bisaccia in that role kind of, love the players in his success? We heard it was told that, all these years under Gruden, later in the season, they fell apart because Gruden's just grinding them down to a nub. Because how much he loves football, he expects the players to love football that much and not know they're tired. Whereas Rich Bisaccia was like, let me listen to these players. They're starting to wear down. Bam, 4-game win streak to close out the season, and we go to the playoffs for the second time in 2 decades. We're going to talk about this tomorrow, Dutch Master. Great question. Thank you for your content, Mr. Clifford. Great show. See, we can be nice as well. There you go. Yeah. Touche, right? Video game. So I feel like Raiders content is in the middle. MMA fans, brutal. They smell weakness. They'll kick you right in the dick. Gamers, awesome. They love you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Raiders, you eat what you kill. We have a good day, you'll let me know. If I have a bad day, you'll let me know. Dutch Master, Mark Davis losing the team might be the last domino to fall for us to finally move on and win a Super Bowl. I'm not giving up on Mark Davis just yet. He's made some good moves. The whole move to Vegas, swindling $750 million out of taxpayers, swindling the richest man in Vegas, Sheldon Adelson, into having him blaze the path for the Raiders and then not giving him any equity in the team. There's some brilliant moves. I'm not giving up on Mark Davis just yet. Mark Davis is barber. Chargers don't have fans. Even more with the Rams winning the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. Yeah. Touche. So we're going to have, how because it's the 17-game season, it's half the teams get a 9 home games, half get 8 home games. The Raiders will always have 10 or 11 because every Charger game's a home game. And we're at the Rams, which is another home game. So we're supposed to only have 8 home games this season. We're going to have 10. 10 home games, 7 away games because we're in LA twice. Count it. What else? Gun nerd. The difference maker in the AFC West may not be who has the better offense. It's probably who has the better defense. I mean, it's always the case, right? I mean, the sexy stars are on offense. But, clearly defense is a big part of it. If that's the case, I don't like our chances then, right? The Raiders are still going to have to overcome bad defenses for a while. All right, that's about it for me. It's been already over an hour. Wow, that flew by. Thank you so much for the super chats. They mean a lot. As of right now, it looks like all the super chats will go back to making our studio great because you didn't tell me explicitly to take the money from the super chat and to shove it into the butthole of a stripper or to give it to a bartender for a beer. So I will abide by my word and abide by your wishes. It'll go towards a good cause. We'll have our show with Soto and I tomorrow, recorded tomorrow for Thursday. Maybe we'll do something live Friday when they announce the schedule. We'll think about doing that. We'll definitely answer that question from Dutch Master. Do you think Gruden's emails being leaked was a blessing in disguise? We'll definitely get to that as well. And it'll be episode 101. We had episode 100 last week. Thank you guys for being along with us for so long. Here's to another 100. Here's to another 1,000. But until then, knock on wood if you're with me.